you put them in sequential order. And then what comes before F, what comes after this, and for them to understand the relationship of before, after, between. You know, these are all simple things. That's the best part of Orton-Gillingham. You have a Sharpie and some paper, you can write out anything and teach them anything. It's not complicated. It's all very simple. And that's one of the things that I think I like the most about it, because it's doable for everybody. Are there other questions?
So I assume there are other papers or books or something to take home, like what they do in class? Because what I'm used to, here's a book, here's a chapter, here's a homework, here's what for parents to read, to repeat, to remind. Because if he wouldn't tell me that they learn about Magic E, and I don't know when they learned it, maybe he would never tell it to me. It just happened that he did. So, like, how do I know what they learned?
What grade is your child?
Kindergarten. Yes. And like sometimes we do get an email saying here's what we learned, and I don't know, is it something that will be going on constantly? Is it always? Is it the rule that we get an email saying here's what we learned? Or do we need to talk to children or to teacher? Like, how do we know what they learn?
All of the above, but first, especially in your situation, you need to sit down and talk with the teacher. Okay, let her explain that to you a little bit more carefully.
A lot of them are communicating with their newsletters or in their Tuesday packet or on their webpage. But the teachers, you have to remember, the teachers have spent a lot of time training, and they're still training, and they're working with Nancy regularly to perfect and how to incorporate at each grade level. So go to the teacher for the questions, because they're really the director for each grade.
How has it been incorporating this for older children? I mean, as a third grader, I mean, you know, they've missed a lot of this. So
well, but what they haven't missed is understanding roots,
going?
prefixes, and suffixes, which is really the focus of their intermediate school program. And having that knowledge really opens the door for vocabulary and is a great precursor into a lot of the vocabulary that they're doing in the high school. They have a summer vocabulary requirement that they're being tested on. And the sooner we can understand the difference in the roots and the prefixes and suffixes and really own that knowledge and how they work together, then that's really going to benefit them in reading, vocabulary. And you know, a beautiful reader can have some huge word, and if they use these skills that we've talked about today, they can go in a biology book and decode anything. Now, proper nouns don't usually type there. But that is a gift that they should keep using throughout their, if they get to something they don't know how to pronounce, what do I do? Well, they know, let's just stop and divide, and after I've divided, let's code it, and now I know how to read each syllable.
But they're starting that in first grade, right?
They're starting that younger. I mean,
right. So if they miss that, I'm thinking that
because Orton-Gillingham circles back. So the Orton-Gillingham curriculum for a first grader will cover. Let's just say they stop with Gentle Cindy. I'm making that up, which they don't. And then so next year they're going to go back
and review that.
And they're going to review all that,
okay.
Gentle Cindy, and keep moving forward. And the next year we're going to review all that and move on to possessive. So the third grader is not missing out on the whole thing. Would it have been beneficial if they'd had it when they were younger? I think it would have been a gift. But they're going to get that knowledge. And you know, there's some beauty in teaching some of this to an older student. They can grasp it. They understand it. It's not as much memory. They're ready to receive some of it. Some of the things that you teach a first grader, they will do it because they know they have to, it follows the rule. But by the time they get to fourth grade, they understand the picture of it.
And they have learned it, but not in the sequential way, and not with some of the terminology. Like, forever we have taught, and I taught first and second for a long time, kindergarten, the Magic E. That's been around forever. The book I referred to that's 50 years old, all of those things were in there. Some of the names were a little different. We're trying to be real consistent with all the rules, all the way up, from kindergarten all the way up to the older grades. In the intermediate school and in third grade, they're doing more of the REVLOC, that acronym for R control, the LE words, the floss words. They're doing more of that. And then in fourth and fifth, it's more with accented syllables and a lot of work with syllables and accents. But they do have some background, but not the way it is presented through the Orton-Gillingham.
Also, with young children, they don't know what they know.
They can't.
So
tell
you have to help them connect those dots. They know the material. They may not be able to put it in a package of this vocabulary, but they know that E kicks the long sound out of the first vowel. So that's why you need to talk to them and have them tell you what they know. Like when I give them the test, the children's progress, I'll tell them it's going to start off in kindergarten and it gets harder fast because we won't know what you know until we ask you. So don't worry when it gets hard. But they know this because in 3rd grade, a student, when the teacher started the tapping and all in 3rd grade, they said, why are we doing this? We did this in 1st grade. Mm-hmm. You know, so they know it. Now, some children grasp it easier and faster than other children. So you have to know your child and know, do I need to give them extra work? Can I leave them alone and know they'll be fine?
Any other questions? Well, I can't thank you enough for being so involved in your children's education. They're going to benefit from this and the time that you're putting in to help them. And please, again, your teachers are your resources. Come to us with anything, call, email with questions. And if you have any gut feeling that something's not right, touch base, because then we can look into it and help see if we need to work on an area, or explain the magic E again, or go over the rules. And that's what we're here for. So thank you.
There may be in one of these websites here, but I've kind of tried to look for almost an Orton-Gillingham for dummies so that I could understand it a little bit better, and I haven't been able to find such things.
Well, and there's not, that's
actually
part of
exist?
the Orton-Gillingham, the true program that falls under the Orton-Gillingham Academy. There's a lot of training you can do on Orton-Gillingham that is not true Orton-Gillingham. And so their standards and their requirements are pretty high. And they don't publish it because they don't want people to be teaching it and saying they're teaching it. That's why we're not expecting you to teach this to your children. This handout is only, so when I come in and say, Mom, I got this prize today because I found 15 magic keys, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Because you're not trained to teach it. You know, we want you to help, to facilitate, but then come back to the teacher and say, she's not grasping this. When she's reading it, she's mispronouncing it every time. I've noticed it's always the consonant at LE. She's not understanding when to divide it with a long vowel. Or, you know, this will help you have knowledge to then communicate with the teacher.
Is it still in a pretty small percentage of schools across the country? Are we just really lucky we have this?
We are very lucky. I don't think this is prevalent in the Southeast. Athens Academy is looking at training all their teachers this summer. What is this small school down in
Frederick Academy.
Academy did it a while back. I don't know that theirs took off as quickly as ours.
But is it probably less than 20% of schools that are doing this?
I don't know. A lot of the Northeast uses it. So
I would say in the South it's probably less than that.
South, a lot of it. Some people did learn to read like this. I mean, this has been around since 60s.
Savannah Country Day has used. I don't know where they are with it now.
But
Nathaniel Lippert.
the fact that Brookstone saw such value to train all teachers and not just say, well, this 3rd grade teacher is going to do it in this 1st grade, that just showed the buy-in, in my opinion, that this is across the board. It is part of our curriculum, and it's only a part. Like I said in the beginning, this isn't the only thing your child will need to read. You got to get into, are they visualizing? Are they understanding the picture? Are they making a picture in their head? I mean, this is a component, but I think it's an important component, and it unlocks a lot of things for all different types of learners. That's another thing that's so beneficial, is it's not only towards one learning style.
I think it helps with their spelling too.
Dramatically. So thank y'all for coming out.
How many of you would like to have another round in maybe the 3rd quarter of a remediation class?
Yes.
I'll talk to Ray and Nancy. We'll see what we can get together. Thank you all so much for coming. And remember to listen to your children. Let them tell you what they know. Some of it you may not like.
Tuesday,